What is going on, everybody? I am the original gamer, OgStevieStrow, and we are back with another Atari classic from the Atari VCS, or Atari 2600 home video game system from the late 70s, early 80s. We're looking at from 1981, Defender, port of an arcade game. Actually, not a bad one either. So in Defender, you have a spaceship. You have to shoot all the bad guys, right? Oh, I just got blowed up. Gotta love it, right? So you're scrolling over a city, and actually in the arcade they were mountain ranges, but whatever, this looks more like a city, and that's okay. See, here's the flicker that I remember from Atari games. Atari game had notorious amounts of flicker. Okay, oh, I just got blowed up again. Now there are people you're supposed to protect, and the people are hard to see, but they're down there on the bottom. They look like little blinking rectangles. See, this guy here is picking up a people. All right, he's got a person. Now what I can do is I can try to shoot him, grab the person, set that person down to safety, which I just did. Very difficult to do. Bad guys. This game here suffers really badly from flicker. This was an unfortunate byproduct of old technology trying to do a lot of stuff at once, and so a lot of times these old games, these little characters on the screen, these sprites, would flicker and flash. A little bit distracting, but nonetheless, it was just something that we kind of were used to. Maybe some people didn't notice, didn't care. When you look back, you can really say, yeah, that was a sign of the times. You know, not only the blocky graphics, the low resolution, that's one thing. But to me, the more distinct and memorable thing, for better or worse, is the flickering of the characters on the screen. Okay, that dude just got picked up. So yeah, Defender is a very cool game in the arcade game, brought to us by Williams Electronics. There was a sequel to Defender that was called Stargate. I think Williams Electronics also made Joust and a few other games, right? So, oh, here's a bad guy. Die, sucker. Yeah, so I'm actually doing halfway decent. I do like the fact that this does a decent job of scrolling the screen on the bottom. These sound effects were so iconic. These Atari sound effects, the shot sounds, the kind of white noise of my engine, the explosions, these sounds and these noises. Oh, I just cleared level 1. Ooh, aren't I special? I feel special. You can see my radar up there on the top of the screen, all the bad guys on the screen. That radar is very flickery as well, right? So the way Atari did things was everything on the screen was a sprite. And sprites were limited in how many sprites you could have on screen at any given time. And so what they had to do is they had to sometimes turn one off somewhere and turn another one on somewhere else. And so that resulted in the flickering, because they're literally being turned off and turned on somewhere else. And so that's why they flickered. Because they wanted to get more objects on the screen than the hardware supported. And that was one way to do it. And that's why all those little dots up on the screen are very flickery, and why some of these spaceships will be flickery sometimes. When there's too many objects on the screen, they had to do that. They had to kind of multitask by turning them on and off and stuff. It was just a sign of the times. It's a very old school Atari thing. I like it. This reminds me of the good old days. I love these old 8-bit sounds, the retro sounds, man. The sound of that engine. It's just some FM synthesis, some white noise in the background, and that was our engine. And these guys are shooting at me here. Okay, cool stuff. Die, suckers, die. Here's the freaking skull and crossbones, dude. Okay, you need to die. This guy needs to die. Yes, yes, yes. There's just something about this joystick, the old-fashioned Atari joystick, man. It's just a big stick with a single red button, you know? I mean, this is Atari joystick. We had one button. It was a nice, rigid stick you could really grab onto. It could take a beating. It's pretty rugged. Moved in 4 basic directions. I think there might have been diagonals. I don't know. But yeah, the old school Atari joystick. This was gaming at its simplest and at its finest. There's just something so elegant about an old school, very rigid stick. Close to... I wouldn't say exactly like an arcade, but it's a similar arcade experience, because in the arcade sticks too, they were also just very rugged. One stick, one button, that's all you needed to play games. And this was one of them. So this was Defender from 1981. Defender was an immensely popular game in the arcade. And this is a decent home version of it too. It actually did a good job on the Atari's graphics. You know, you can just sit here and look at it and see how blocky things are. Now, another thing you'll notice here too is that the colors are changing. This was something that Atari did in their system to prevent what was known as burn-in on the screen. So some of the earlier versions of Pong that first came out, one of the first home game systems was a Pong system with the paddles, and all you did was you move your thing up and down and a square ball bounced back and forth. Some of those old Pong systems were actually doing what was known as burn-in, and were burning pictures into people's TVs and ruining their TVs. And so needless to say, those people were not too happy about that. So Atari turned on like this kind of screensaver mode here when the game is over to kind of cycle through colors, so you didn't have the same thing on your screen all the time, which would cause the phosphor in our old tube televisions to actually get burned in and create a permanent image in that screen. So this was just kind of a cool feature in a way to reduce the risk of burn-in on your old tube television. So all these things are just so reminiscent of this era. So many fond memories, so many just cool little nuances on how things were. But at the end of the day, when it comes to a video game being something fun to play, these were fun. You know, despite the lower resolution, despite the limited sound capabilities and the blocky graphics, a good game's just got to be a good game. It's got to be fun. It's either fun or it's not. And most of these games were incredibly fun, which is why there are so many people who are nostalgic for all these retro things, because this was the golden age of video games. Just good times, fun games to play, addictive, the whole 9 yards. So I hope you enjoyed this preview of Defender from 1981 for the Atari 2600, as played on the ColecoVision's memory expansion module doohickey thingamajobby. I have been the original gamer, VCS, and if you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, give it a big fat thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. If you got something you'd like to say, throw out a comment. I'd also appreciate it if you could share this with your friends. I will see y'all next time. Keep on gaming, people. Peace out and bye-bye, everybody.